I am Eva Gomez Fernandez from the University of Cantabria, and I will explore the potent propagandistic and indoctrinating effects of political discourse, employing imaginary as a narrative. Focusing on the years 1919 and 1920 in the United States, a period marked by the initial Red Scare and the lead up to the anti-communist witch purge. As we can see here, there is a promotional poster for the film Bolshevism on Trial. In this image, Trotsky is depicted as purportedly subjugating the very workers, serving as a striking example of the visual manipulation. The structure of this talk revolves around these outline points, and the accompanying image serves as a significant visual aid. Notably, publications such as the New York America warned that the most potent antidote to communist propaganda laid in Americanism. Consequently, nativism emerges as a pivotal aspect of the anti-communist narrative. This research is driven by my quest to answer these inquiries, spurred by the recognition of the pivotal role images play as a propaganda medium. Illustrated through this political cartoon, we observe how the nativist discourse bolsters anti-Eastern immigration policies, accentuated by the Slavic undertones reading "Come on to me, ye press." This visual narrative suggests that anarchists and communists perceive American liberty, hence the choice of the Statue of Liberty by the cartoonist James Ely, as a symbol of oppression. The methodology of this research combines cultural studies with the field of political communication. This is why an hermeneutical framework has been especially tailored for the analysis of political cartoons, which constitute a focal point of this research. These 8 cartoons, crafted by different cartoonists between the period that this talk explores, share a common attribute. They were published in diverse press outlets, unmistakably identified as anti-communist. Within the field of political communication, it is imperative to acknowledge the role of the echo chamber in amplifying specific discourses, particularly those aligned with the far right. You can all find the ensuing table here. These cartoons are sourced from the Billy Ireland Cartoon Library and Museum collection at The Ohio State University, accessible through the OPER project. Finally, the study will delve into the analysis of the message conveyed by 2 selected films. I will talk to them later. The first Red Scare origins can be traced back several decades in the United States. Notably, Thomas Dixon Jr. emerged as a prominent advocate of anti-communist ideology in works like Conrad's A Story of Social Adventure in California, later adapted into the film Bolshevism on Trial. This cinematic exhibition encapsulated key aspects of American nationalism, including Christianity, nativism, criticism of democracy, and the perpetuation of a heteropatriarchal system. As World War I drew to a close, the Russian Revolution erupted, making 4 distinct phases culminating in the triumph of communism and the demise of the old regime. This is why American President Woodrow Wilson grew increasingly concerned about communism spread in Europe, particularly following events such as the Biennio Rosso in Italy, characterized by widespread strike led by workers sympathetic to communism and anarchism. Simultaneous within the United States, anarchist, communist, and socialist movements were burgeoning among Eastern European immigrants, exemplified by figures like Emma Goldman, who eventually obtained citizenship. The Palmer raids under the authority of the United States Department of Justice during President Woodrow Wilson's administration aimed to apprehend and deport suspected socialists, anarchists, and communists. These raids primarily targeted Italian and Eastern European Jews, immigrants associated with leftist ideologies. I choose this political cartoon because it effectively depicted the demonization threat of communism, symbolized by a serpent reminiscent of biblical imagery, tempting the worker. He wears a dagger that represents loyalty to USA. Displayed here are 3 political cartoons. The first one, Hell's Masterpiece. featuring historical figures with morally contentious backgrounds, including Judas, the Roman Emperor Caligula, Emperor Nero, and Caesar Wilhelm II, all of whom experienced defeat in the aftermath of World War I. The central figure in this composition is Satan, a strategy introducing a new antagonist in the world and in the USA, the Bolshevists. In the second, two figures are depicted. A socialist man holds a flag with the inscription "Red Flag," symbolizing a perceived threat. Additionally, an anthropomorphic donkey, typically associated with Democrats, is seen carrying a railroad and a telephone signal, suggesting that democratic policies could lead the country into financial chaos. This is due President Woodrow Wilson from Democratic Party proposed nationalizing telegraph or railroad services. The third illustration depicted a young character adorned in rich attire, seemingly inclined towards initiating a terrorist incident. This individual symbolizes a communist holding a red flag while simultaneously grasping an explosive device inscribed with the words "Industrial Revolution." These political cartoons converge on a specific theme: Americanism as a bulwark against communism. From this perspective, Americanism serves as a link between anti-immigration policies and Puritanism, which viewed strikes as undemocratic elements. Here, Uncle Tom, personifying the United States government, stirring a sizable pot filled with diverse ingredients. These represent the consequences of post-World War I and particularly the triumph of the Bolshevists. In the second illustration, a nuanced message is conveyed suggesting that immigration was perceived as a potential threat, prompting a call for comprehensive government restrictions. The deliberate choice to portray the central character with a bomb-shaped helmet serves as a poignant visual metaphor, highlighting the connection to anarchists engaged in labor-related attacks, many of whom were immigrants from Eastern Europe. Overall, the central theme underscores nativism as a fundamental aspect of Americanism and anti-communism. In the first cartoon, a descending boot traverses 4 steps with a question mark awaiting at the bottom, symbolizing the working class influences by socialism. It progresses through 4 stages, culminating in revolution, strikes, disorder, acts of terrorism, and eventual chaos. The second depicts a hand navigating a landscape of diverse factories, holding aloft a flag emblazoned with the term "Red," accompanied by the inscription "Still strike below." This suggests workers' labor union movement may be immersed in Bolshevik ideology. In the third, a culmination of previously outlined elements is depicted. Bolshevik agitators are shown exerting influence over the nation, embodied by Uncle Sam, amidst turmoil and social-economic discontent. The overarching theme presented here is the violence engendered by communism. Cinema was important too for indoctrinating citizens. The first film is Bolshevism on Trial, which tells the story of a war veteran who purchases an island for his son to establish a communist society. However, the experiment goes awry when the island is taken over by a capitalist and use magnate, resulting in a regime akin to slavery. Moreover, the island president exploits feminism to sexually abuse women, as we can see in the image below. In response, the United States intervenes in the name of God and Christianity to eradicate this totalitarian regime. The other silent film is The Right of Happiness, that is about two sisters separated at birth. One was raised in the Soviet Union and the other in the capitalist bloc. The film's conclusions underscore the brutality of the Soviet regime, emphasize communism's assault on Christianity, and depict feminism as a facade exploited by the Soviet Union to dismantle traditional societal norms. I try to underscore the pivotal role of mass media as a state tool. Through visual and audiovisual mediums, these platforms can craft propaganda or serve as conduits for societal indoctrination. In terms of anti communism, it is evident that this indoctrination process has been particularly impactful, largely due to the persistent echo chambers, especially prevalent in today's social media sphere. This is starkly illustrated by events such as the movements behind the attack of Capitol on January the 6th. That will be all. Thank you for your attention.